Hey, yo, I want to talk about Innistrad Remastered and whether the cards in the set deserve to be there because they actually and accurately depict the plane. Spoilers, yes, all of them do, I'm not going to dispute that. Even though the set has some obvious omissions in the form of cards that would come to mind when you think of Innistrad, who for some reason have just been left out, which I can do a video on if you guys are interested, let me know in the comments. But I still think that the cards that we do get in this remaster could be considered a foundational representation of the plane. And while some cards are missing, WotC have included a bunch of older cards previously appearing in Innistrad sets but with new and updated art. And even some reimagined cards that have never been printed in a set depicting the plane before. So, I think it'll be an interesting exercise to look at why these updated cards with their new art belong on Innistrad from a flavour perspective, and how we can know for sure that it's Innistrad that's being depicted in this new art. And to do this, I'm going to play a version of the game, Is It Innistrad? And if you don't know what that is, don't worry, it's not that deep. If you're interested, you can go and watch this video of mine for an explanation, but trust me, it's not required viewing to understand what we're discussing today, and instead just more of the same if you liked this video and type of art flavour analysis. In short, this is GeoGuessing but for Innistrad. And then to end, I'm going to complain that one specific card I feel that should have been included in this set wasn't. Is this entire video a thinly veiled excuse for me to rant about how a card that rightly deserves to be canonised as being from Innistrad has once again been overlooked, ignored and excluded from the set, just like has already happened 3 times with Midnight Hunt, Crimson Vow and Double Feature, and how this obvious mistake could have been rectified by reprinting it here, but its lack of inclusion once again is starting to seem intentional, which in my opinion should be a criminal offence. And I would say the question over whether this card depicts Innistrad or not, and the legitimacy of its potential inclusion in this so-called remaster, is a hill that I'm willing to die on because I know that there will be those of you out there who fight me on this in the comments. But I got bad news for you, Sunshine, because I'm unwavering in my resolve on this issue and I got no plans to die here today, hill or otherwise, because I know I'm right and I will win that argument. Before that though, let's look at some cards of note from the set, and to start we'll begin with those that canonically depict Innistrad, but have never before been printed in an Innistrad set. Let's zoom in. There's quite a few cards I want to look at today, and like I say, I'm not going to argue that any of them don't depict Innistrad, so we'll start with Crusader of Odric from M13, and then move quickly through them because I'm really trying to curb these runtimes. I could talk about Magic all day. But anyway, Odric is a known character from Innistrad's lore. This character's appearance very closely matches the description given for Greta, Odric's second-in-command in the narrative. And look, her little hat has a symbol of Avacyn on it. So yes, it's Innistrad, and I'll try to be as quick as that with all of them. M11's Captivating Vampire is next, and this is a curious one because while that's probably Markov Manor in the background, it could also just be any vampire lair. And upon inspection, there's not really any evidence that this artwork depicts Innistrad at all. Other Innistrad vampires tend to either dress more regal or more, bondage-y, but this guy's down the middle. Plus, I may be wrong, but I can't find evidence of any other Innistrad vampire having tats. So I wouldn't have said that this card depicts Innistrad, but I trust WotC when they say it does, meaning weirdly, the best evidence that this is an Innistrad card is the fact it's been included in this set without new art. I guess the card itself is now evidence that Innistrad vampires can dress like that and have sleeve work done, so I may end up using this depiction as a reference point if a question arises over the origins of any other vampire going forward. March of the Machines Invasion of Innistrad is next, and this is an easy one. The artwork is full of Innistrad archetypes, and you know, the card depicts an invasion of Innistrad. So yeah, it's Innistrad. Oh, and the reverse side also depicts Innistrad too, if you're curious. There's some zombies, but look, there's a symbol of Avacyn and everything. So yes, it's Innistrad. Next. M20's Sorin Imperious Bloodlord is next, and what would be an easy one actually has a wrinkle in it. Sorin is known as the Lord of Innistrad, so we know he's good, but Sorin is a planeswalker, and not every card that depicts him depicts Innistrad. That's Tarkir in the background for this one, for instance. But looking at the background of this card, that's a symbol of Avacyn, and these angel statues seem similar to the ones that housed the Moonsilver Key, so I'm satisfied, yes, it's Innistrad. Village Rites from M21, and this card is an obvious homage to original Innistrad's Village Cannibals, which is a good sign, but the card itself doesn't hold any obvious clues to immediately point out which plane is being depicted. However, these robes do sort of look similar to those worn by the Skurzdag cultists, and it's been printed here with no changes to the art as well, so again, I'm willing to give it a pass and say yes, it's Innistrad. Ultimate Masters is Through the Breaches next, and while yes, this card was originally printed in Champions of Kamigawa, you can see it used different art, so we're not taking that version into consideration here. Instead, we're looking at Nahiri summoning Emrakul to Innistrad. In an act of genocide, because in the narrative Nahiri was upset at Sorin and decided the best way to get back at him was to make him a witness to a holocaust that she committed against the innocents of Innistrad. Nahiri is an unforgivable monster, at least on par in my opinion with Urza, and I'll do a video on her at some point because I really wish that Magic would just kill her off already. Edgar Markov is the final card in this category, and it's another easy one. Being a legendary creature means there's a good chance he holds some significance to the plane in some way, and he does, as according to the lore, he's the progenitor of all of Innistrad's vampires after he made a deal with a demon to avoid famine. So yes, it's Innistrad. The next category is cards that were originally printed in an Innistrad set, but have been given new art, which we're just going to double check still depicts the plane because like you saw with that Champions of Kamigawa to Ultimate Masters printing of Through the Breach earlier, sometimes new art can mean a change in which plane is being depicted. However, we'll be quick as this is an Innistrad set, so I'm taking the idea that these art changes still depict the same plane as a given. First, it's Gather the Townsfolk. This is the original from Dark Ascension. There was also this promo version, which I prefer because it depicts Thraben's Bloodless Wall or possibly Fang Wall. But you can tell from the clothing and the architecture the new version, just like the old, is undoubtedly set on Innistrad. So yes, it's Innistrad. Guardian of Pilgrims is next. This is the original from Eldritch Moon. Both have symbols of Avacyn, so yes, they're both Innistrad. Sometimes it's as easy as that. Lingering Souls has had a bunch of reprints before, some with different arts like this one from Dark Ascension, or this promo version, but all of them depict Innistrad Geists in some form, so from context we know that yes, it's Innistrad. Niblis of the Urn has only had one printing before, but also from Dark Ascension, with this art. But yeah, looks fine to me, it's been included in the remaster, so yes, it's Innistrad. Deadeye Navigator was first printed in Avacyn Restored, looking like this, and I think it's such a shame to see the art for this card updated and not have the original reprinted here, because that older art is so gorgeous. Not all of Innistrad's spirits have to look like Muppet Christmas Carol extras. Also, in the lore, when spirits on Innistrad do look like this with all of the chains and whatever, it's because they've become kind of feral and dangerous. I mean, this guy looks scared, but is also just getting a boat ride off of him? I don't know, I prefer the original art, but whatever. Yes, it's Innistrad. Killing Wave is next, first seen in Avacyn Restored, and I dislike what both of these cards depict. Not really for any reason other than they're from Liliana's early Edgelord, I'm a black planeswalker so therefore I hate all angels phase. It's cringy, and as a character she's better than that, but I can't deny that both of these cards are from Innistrad. So yes, it's Innistrad. Morkrot Banshee has two previous depictions, one from Jumpstart 2022, and one from original Innistrad. The Morkrot is a location on the plane, nice and easy, so yes, it's Innistrad. And finally, your boy Grim Corpseborn, another legendary creature, first seen in original Innistrad. He's still got his big hook thing, it's clearly still him, so not much to say other than yes, it's Innistrad. Our next category is our smallest, with only 3 cards being cards that depict Innistrad and were originally printed in an Innistrad set but then later got reprinted outside of an Innistrad set with new art, and this is the first time we're seeing the alt art versions of those cards circle back and be printed in a set canonically representative of the plane once again. Does that make sense? Blood Artist is first. It was originally printed in Avacyn Restored, looking like this, but then got reprinted in Double Masters featuring new art which has been used again for this remaster. But even with the new art, you could tell this card was still depicting Innistrad because of the style of clothing and the reference to the famous vampire Angie Falkenrath in the flavor text. So yes, it's Innistrad. Next is Tree of Perdition, first printed in Eldritch Moon, looking like this, but then printed again in Jumpstart 2022 with the artwork now used in this remaster. This is kind of a cheat for our game because even though the creature isn't legendary, in the lore there's still only one Tree of Perdition. It's what happened to the Tree of Redemption, which, if you're interested, was the one-of-a-kind tree in Thraben outside the cathedral where they would hang sinners for repentance, after it was affected by Emrakul's influence during the Travails. So even with its anime-inspired art style, I'm still happy to say that this isn't a Tree of Perdition, but the Tree of Perdition, and so therefore it counts, yes, it's Innistrad. And finally, Tamio, Field Researcher, first printed in Eldritch Moon, and then printed in Shadows over Innistrad Remastered with this art, which was from a digital exclusive set, so I don't know if or how that counts or not or whatever, but the art used there is being used again in this remaster, and this card is interesting in that it's the inverse of the Sorin card from earlier in that Tamio is also a Planeswalker, however she's originally from Kamigawa, but that moon and that architecture in the background tells us that this is depicting Tamio on Innistrad after she's Planeswalked there. So yes, it counts. Our next category is my Patreon. YouTube sucks, and I'm sure you've seen how many creators have left the platform recently. So come check out my tiers because I really don't want to be one of them. I have a monthly behind the scenes blog keeping you updated on the channel, weekly opinion polls discussing interesting aspects of the game, early audio only versions of these episodes you can listen to as a podcast, and most tiers will get your name credited on screen at the end of my videos too. I have many tiers with many rewards starting from as little as £1, which is about $1.50 US. So if you like what I do, you find value in it, you'd like to help support me to keep going, and you can afford it, then please come check out my Patreon, link in the description below. Thank you. Our last category is cards that have never before reflected or depicted Innistrad or appeared in Innistrad sets, thus previously entirely unconnected to the plane thematically, but have new art which is now representative of Innistrad after the update. Again, just like we saw with Through the Breach. And I've said it before, but it is odd to do this in a remaster which is supposed to be reprints, especially when cards you think would be included aren't. But I guess it's done now, so there you have it. Anyway, let's look at the art and see if these new depictions accurately match the plane at least. First up is Mass Hysteria. The original, which looks like this, was first seen in Mirrodin and features goblins. But as you can see, the new Innistrad version has been changed to feature werewolves. Werewolves are most commonly associated with Innistrad in the game, so that checks. We can see the Heron Moon, plus that architecture is in keeping with the Gavany style, so that confirms it. Yes, it's Innistrad. Then it's Hermit Druid. The original, which looks like this, was first printed in Stronghold, featuring this Jason Momoa looking dude on the artificial plane of Wrath. The new Innistrad version depicts a Dawnheart Witch surrounded by creatures of the Somberward, like this Somberward Stag, and these little nettle swines. So yes, it's adorable. I mean Innistrad. Then we have Maelstrom Pulse. The original, which looks like this, was first seen in Alara Reborn, which if you haven't guessed, depicts Alara. The new Innistrad version depicts my beloved destroying zombies in one of the many graphs of Gavany, within eyesight of Thraben in the background, which, fun fact, is built atop a cliff that overhangs a body of water, hence the bridges. So yes, it's Innistrad. And finally, Metallic Mimic. The original, that looks like this, was first printed in Aether Revolt on Kaladesh, where it makes more sense. And as you can see from the Innistrad version, those are Cathars, so we know it's the plane. But Innistrad isn't exactly known for its robots, especially ones that are intricate enough to shapeshift. There are shapeshifters like Shadowkin or Altered Ego, but they're not normally artifact creatures. There are a few construct beings like this Forsaken Thresher or this Narstad Scrapper, but they aren't exactly refined like that Mimic is. Usually animated artifacts on Innistrad are more like this Mana Gargoyle or this Haunted Guardian, which are magically infused objects able to move either via runes or from just being possessed. Or like one of the many scarecrows or dolls on the plane, humanoid objects brought to life either via some weird science or curse. None of these I would say really match this Mimic, so it feels a bit out of place, but again, I can't deny that those are Cathars, so I guess yes, it's Innistrad. And that's all of the cards with new depictions of Innistrad from the remaster and the elements they have to let you know which plane they're representing. Or at least I think it is. I eyeballed this list, so if I've gotten anything wrong or missed anything, then let me know in the comments below. And before we end, it's time. Zurzov Chaos Rider. This is an Innistrad card. I'm not going to prove it here today. You can let me know in the comments if you'd like a separate Is It Innistrad video going over my evidence for this card, but Zurzov should have been a part of this remaster. It came out with Jumpstart in 2020, it wasn't included as part of Midnight Hunt from 2021, Commander deck or otherwise. It wasn't part of Crimson Vow from later that year, Commander deck or otherwise. And I know the double feature was a reprint set, but so is Innistrad Remastered, and that's included new cards, so yeah, Zurzov could have easily have been included from this set from 2022, but once again wasn't. It gets reprinted in a new Capenna Commander deck I see, but the devils on that plane look completely different. So what the hell, Watsy? What, do you just hate mono-red commanders from Innistrad? I mean, look at the choices. Herigast Erupting Nelkite for an Emerge deck? All of the other Innistrad cards with Emerge are in blue, black or green. Perhaps for a mono-red commander deck we should use one of these two. Both with partner, but can't be partners to each other? So either the deck isn't mono-red or only has half of a commander. Maybe Rahilda, the imaginary commander, for a fictional deck of ethereal cards that exist but have never been printed. This is not just an Innistrad card, but a damn good one. If we go back to Innistrad again and the Chaos Rider isn't included, I am going to lose it. Canonize Zurzov, you cowards. Thank you very much for watching this video, and thank you to everyone that supports me, like Eggboy the particle that permeates all existence, and the rest of my patrons whose names are on screen now. I'd also like to thank the sponsor for this video, me and my Patreon page, where you can get your name credited on screen too. Check it out in the link in the description below. Hit the like button, leave a comment, install an ad block, most importantly subscribe and share this video with a friend. Hit the notification bell and do all those things the algorithm loves. If you agree or disagree with any of my points, apart from Zurzov being from Innistrad because I'm right on that, or you want to see me do a video on another subject, let me know and I will see you next time.